So, Hyperlight Drifter. It's a game, but seriously, this game is pretty fun. So, let's just begin this analysis, breakdown, review with a little bit of history, because actually playing this game, you might not pick up on it. An ancient civilization discovers goop and creates titans for possible defense against other beings. There are 4 titans, or at least 4 kind of areas of the world. We have the otter people, we have the bird people, we have the salamander people, and we have the pussy boys. Ancient civilization also wanted to create some kind of infinite life force that could help them live forever. But doing this created some kind of warp in reality, bringing about what is called the Judgment. Or, as we know, the great evil being of death and destruction, otherwise known as IMJ Station. The Titans are being controlled by the Judgment and then attack their own people, causing everyone to have to fight their own Titans, causing their bodies to be scattered throughout the world. Now, the music. Ooh, the music and the sound design and the ambiences. Ooh, mwah, mwah. French kiss. But now we gotta talk about the gameplay. Well, the gameplay, it's fun, it's also rewarding, and it's also gay. Because there are only really 3 things you can break down. We've got weapons, movement, and health. So, weapons. You have a sword. That's it. That's your sword. Basically, you don't get any upgrades for your sword. And then we have different guns. So, I really like the reloading mechanic with the guns. It requires you to hit opponents to get, bullets back. And depending on the opponent, and depending on the gun, you get a certain amount of your ammo back. Tactics aren't really a thing in this game. You can kind of use tactics, but dungeons and the world are quite linear, so tactics aren't really that useful. With your movement, you have your dash. That's basically it. You just dash around. You can upgrade it as well and do kinds of cool shit. Then we have the health. So basically there are these health packs that you find, and you have to stop and heal yourself back to full. I really like the idea. I think it could have sufficed by making it a little bit harder, either making them less, popular, because there's everywhere. They're like everywhere in this game. So either making them a little bit less common, or making them heal a little bit less. That could be pretty interesting. So what about the actual game? Well, when you boot it up, there's a cutscene that kind of explains to the Drifter what's going on, but in a very kind of esoterical, theoretical sense. Which is, of course, it just kind of shows the world being destroyed by these titans, and how these titans have been destroyed. Very odd. Also, just a funny note, this dog is super annoying because I just thought, you'd eventually be able to play as it, or fight it, or something cool, but no, it just exists. After being saved by a hunk man, you are given a map, and now you can go in any direction. You can go up, you can go down, you can go left, or you can go right. Psych! You can only go right, and that's it. You can only go right. So when you go right, what's the gameplay loop? Well, the gameplay loop is really basic. You go to a new place, you get into a dungeon, you beat the dungeon, you get into more dungeons, and then you beat the boss, you leave. There are also shops where you can upgrade your stuff. It's pretty cool, but I think the lack of dialogue makes the shops a little bit less cool, in my opinion. The first area of many is called the Destroyed Palace. Well, it's not actually called that, but I call it that. It's really interesting, and it's a great first area. It's pretty linear, but also open enough that you can explore and discover secrets. It seems like a big palace, so it's a lot more pristine than a lot of the other areas, and I really enjoy that kind of... Since it's so close to the water, it can be cleaned and all that jazz, and it's really cool. But the amount of water, I have to just say, is that it doesn't really affect gameplay all that much, which is a bit sad. Fucking frogs! And the green things, they're scary. Yet again, the atmosphere is pretty good. The boss fight can be cheesed, which is a bit odd. So yeah, that's the first area. The Forgotten Skies, as I call them. This is the up area, where the main enemies are the birds, which are pretty interesting. I feel like magic bird people can be pretty interesting. The enemies are nice, and I like the attack patterns, but they can be somewhat annoying. The boss, yet again, a little bit too easy. The Crystal Path. It's got a really good idea, but the execution's a bit poor. They don't use the crystals as much as they should. It's just kind of a set piece and like a little bit extra, Then we have my favorite area of the game, which is the last area, called the Autumn Valley. Well, I call it the Autumn Valley anyway. It's super cool. I love the color scheme. I love how it's more open than the first area, so it feels more complete. It feels like it should have been the first level, but it isn't, which gives that nice, like, non-expecting kind of surprise out of nowhere feel when you're playing the game. So here are all the things that I really liked about the game, which is the atmosphere, obviously. The ideas were awesome, and the art is absolutely phenomenal. It is some of the best pixel art I've seen in any game. But there are things that I don't like about it. Well, it's a bit sad to say I don't like them, more that I just feel like they could be changed. Now, I'm going to be talking about adding a bunch of stuff. Now, I know, indie team, it's an indie team, they're trying to do something, they had a certain amount of time, a certain amount of money. So, I'm not expecting them to do this, or was expecting them to have this. I'm just saying, if they had more time and more money, then this is what I would have liked the game to be if it had a bigger team or if it had more time, right? I love the game as it is now, but I see a lot more possibility if they had more money to get bigger, okay? Okay. Dungeons. I think the dungeons aren't different enough from each other. They seem quite similar. Besides the enemies, the dungeons are basically the same. Besides the bird dungeons with the magical teleportation, I like that, but it isn't fully utilized, so I've come up with some ideas. So, for the wet dungeons, there should be more water. Maybe a few dungeons where you ride on a platform down a river. So you have to, like, dodge bullets on this very limited platform, meaning you can't dash, meaning you have to choose where to move, when to move. You could play Frogger, dashing between platforms as they're rushing past with water. Or you could have, tides. Tides that could be like little puzzles where you could bring in a tide or push it in a tide, and, it would be cool. Air dungeons. Now, I know the magic stuff is really cool, and they could have expanded on that a little bit more, but I feel like since they're birds, there should be multi-layered kind of stuff. Air vents, being able to push you up to the second layer. It would be really cool if you could, like, play the bottom layer and just keep going higher and higher without an elevator, but more just get shot up. I mean, these are birds, so they should have some kind of situation where, it's their place, it's their city, so they should have stuff that only birds can do, like higher places, small holes that you can fly through, all that kind of stuff. Crystal caves. Now, I think there'd be some really cool stuff, like natural generation. Like, what if the crystals slowly grew, so you had somewhat of a time limit? Or just more crystal types. Maybe there's a fire crystal that burns you, or a poison crystal that makes you poison or whatever, or an electric crystal that you have to turn on, stuff like that. There could be color-based puzzles, like you have to put a certain colored crystal in front of a light source to make it a certain light to do this and do that. I just think it could have been really cool. And in autumn we have robot time, so that's what I call it, robot time. So I think they should have had a little bit more of the acidic goop that they had, maybe some hacking puzzles, turning robots against each other maybe, having some kind of power-based, like, pipe kind of puzzle, like turning pipes to add power to a certain area. I think that could have just added a little bit extra. And, of course, boss fights. Now, boss fights, I think, could be better. I think they're all a little bit too easy besides the final boss fight. But I think there should just be more of a reason to actually fight these guys. So, here's what I've given them. For the frog, once you defeat them, you've given an upgrade that you can buy in the shop that gives your sword an attack, where instead of you charging it, when you charge it and release it, a big wave comes from the ground and can push enemies back. So it's more of like an area of effect, like a better charge attack. With the bird bitch, the little bird bitch, you could have like one free dash in the air, because if you dash off the edge, you like fall and you get hurt. But I think what would be really cool is if you had like this one step, so you could dash onto the air, dash again off of the air. So you'd either dash back to the place where you were, or you could dash to a secret area. I think that just could be really cool. Then we have the crystal Chad, and I think what would have been really cool is if your sword could like become a crystal like his and just kind of extend, and that'd be really cool. I think. And then that robot archer guy, I think maybe you could increase your sword so that when you hit a robot, it would pacify them. So it wouldn't deal damage to robots anymore, but it would make them passive towards you for a short period of time. And I think more areas could have benefited this game. So I'd have created this kind of fire volcano radioactive place. In the dungeons, enemies there'd be some enemies where you just couldn't melee because of how radioactive or hot they are. You can't get close enough, forcing you to have to go on the, long-ranged offense. Maybe there could be a use for the charge attack. Maybe there could be massive obsidian pillars that you need to charge to destroy. And the dungeons could make you weaker, like the radiation could suck all your power out, making you not able to dash and not able to use your guns or anything like that. Basically just making you really weak and putting you up against strong enemies and making you really just skill-based. The boss could be some kind of fire lord, and when you defeat them, it gives you a fire trail upgrade, so when you dash, it leaves a trail of fire that damages opponents that cross your path. The next area could be the dreamscape. We get visions throughout the game, but what if we could play in those visions? The dungeons would be really trippy, allowing you to do stuff that just wouldn't make sense, making the game fully 2D, making it, a little bit weirder, having a different character in place, having weird puzzles that both make sense and don't make sense, and having no enemies. That would be really cool. But the boss fight could be like a bigger you, because you are really scared of dying, or I don't know, it could just be interesting. Once defeating the boss, it could give you a faster max dash speed, because I like to go fast. Then we have like a ruined city, where the dungeons would just be normal homes, but destroyed and barricaded, using doors as weapons and stuff like that. It would be really interesting to see these enemies kind of evolve around. Talking of that, the boss fights would be like a giant hermit crab that uses skyscrapers as its shell. So it could be really big. And when you defeat it, it gives you like a shield. So you can either have a gun, which is long range, or a shield that protects you from all damage while holding it. But while holding it, you can't move. That could be a pretty interesting cutoff. And then a wasteland. I really like this idea. Is that it's like a jungle, but that's been completely destroyed. So the entire area is the maze. Is the dungeon more like. So you don't have several little dungeons. It's just one big kind of giant maze with trees and areas without trees, and it would just be pretty cool. The boss could be like a big spider or something that gives a web gun that could slow enemies. So, with all this, what would I change to gameplay? Well, I think after you complete the right side, I think you should have access to all different versions. Maybe not the lower area, but I think having, the ability to go to every single area could make it a little bit cooler, because, what's the point of going through these bosses one by one? Like, what's the point of defeating a robot guy, getting the ability to insta-kill robots, and then not fighting robots ever again? Like, allowing you to choose which ability you get first and which ability you get last could be really interesting. And I think that would just make the game a whole lot better. But something that should have been in the game is the Void, which is the final area. Once you complete all the areas, you get this final area before you fight the big boss. So each dungeon will be basically all of the big enemies from a sector, but really buffed and a lot stronger, faster, more health, and basically a really hard thing before you get to the final boss, which is basically unchanged. So, in conclusion, the game is amazing. It's in both has and lacks content. I think it's better to say that it has a loss of potential. It's not bad. It doesn't lack from any content. It just could have had more content if they had more time, and that could have been really interesting. The gameplay and combat can be limiting, but it can also be rewarding, so that's good. It's a great but short game, so I give it an official 8.5 out of 10, and my official statement about it is play it. Hey, so I guess you've made it this far to the video. If you have, thank you. I guess you're a fan of me? I don't know. I know this video wasn't my best work. I'm kind of disappointed in it. I could have done a lot more, but I really am not feeling up to it. I really just wanted to make this video and put it out there because, it's not the worst video I've ever made. And they say, don't upload a video that, you're not proud of. But honestly, I don't think I can make a video that I'm proud of. I just kind of got to go through the motions. I've been feeling really just down lately. I know I've gained tons of subscribers, and that's awesome, but, fame doesn't stop depression, which is a lesson everyone has to learn. So if you're suffering from something and you want something, getting that thing won't just take away the sadness. You have to find it in yourself to do that. It helps, but it doesn't fix it. It never does. So I've been having to deal with a lot of demotivation, not really depression, but the fact that I'm just really demotivated. I just don't really want to do anything, which is obviously not a good thing if I want YouTube to be a full-time job, because I'll have to upload every other day, or be on a schedule. So I have to find something to do, something interesting to do, because I've recorded a bunch of videos that will just never see the light of day, because I just didn't have fun making them. So I don't know what I will make next time. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe something funny, maybe something serious, maybe more philosophy. I really liked making that writing video. I think that video was very fun in my opinion. So if you guys want to see more, I guess you could comment down below. I doubt anyone's going to watch this far into the video. Anyway, see you guys next video, and I'll see you guys in the next life. Bye bye.